to the China EVs and More podcast. The next hour or so, my co-host Lei Xing and I will go over the week's most important and interesting news coming out of the global EV, AV, and mobility sectors. What Lei and I discuss today is based on our opinions and should not be taken as investment advice. For those that are new to the show, welcome. And to our loyal listeners and viewers, welcome back. We ask that you smash those subscribe and like buttons so you don't miss anything from us in the future. Lei and I are two of the most knowledgeable people in the world doing this, so help us get the word out about the show to others. My name is Tu Li. I am the Managing Director at Sino Auto Insights, a global management consultancy that helps organizations bring innovative and tech-focused products and services to the transportation and mobility sectors. I write a free weekly newsletter that we pull many of our discussion topics from. You can sign up for it at sinoautoinsights.substack.com, which, of course, I encourage you all to do. Back in Beijing, Lei, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Good morning and good evening from my side. This is your co-host, Lei Xing, former chief editor of China Auto Review. This is episode number 216. We're talking about the weather. Sizzling hot. A few points. Jensen Huang was in Beijing this past week. Fireworks on the six-seat, three-row SUVs that came out like one after the other. And Waymo, Uber, Tesla are added in the Robotaxi space on the other side of the world where you are. So it's never a dull day or moment. I got to check out some of the newest and the latest. I got to check out the YU7. I was going to check out the i8 because they arrived in stores today, but I'll do that tomorrow. These products, right? Just relentless.
Well, let's
keep
go over again, Lei. Let's go over again, Lei, really quickly. The YU7 came out about 3 weeks ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the L90, the Onvo L90, also started delivery. The Li Auto i6, i8, which are battery electric vehicles. Li Auto is known historically as being an EREV company, with the exception of one MPV called the Mega, which is a little bit more expensive, 800,000, although it's cheaper now. 800,000 RMB is over $100,000 for an MPV in China, which is premium. And then, what am I missing? I think there was we
both missed maybe the biggest wild card, which is the Model YL, the
3-row Model YL.
Yeah, it kind of crashed the party, right? It's like, we'll see in the fall. That's the title of their push. Model YL, we'll see in the fall.
And then there's a standard range, longer range, standard range Model 3.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like Onvo L90. By the way, I was in Chongli for a test drive. That was interesting. It's big in every sense of the word, because we talked about it being a crucial product for NIO Group this year. A lot of potential. And then somehow, that one day, a slew of these 3-row, 6-seat, pure, fully electric SUVs were announced. i8, Model YL, new Ito M8, and the IML S9.
So is the L8 an EREV?
Which one?
The L8 from Ito, that's an EREV.
The M8.
M8, sorry.
I'm
getting all confused with letters.
It comes in both EREVs and fully electric.
Okay.
So we're talking about the fully electric 3-row 6-seaters SUVs, which until now I think it's been the plug-ins and the EREVs. And suddenly there seems to be, in Li Bin's words, that he's trying to transition that or change that landscape with the L90, and then the i8, and then the other ones that are coming.
So mostly all, I won't say mostly, many of the Chinese EV makers that you and I talk about now offer both an EREV and a BEV version of vehicles in their product lineup, with the exception of NIO.
Yeah, and I think NIO is
and Tesla.
NIO and Tesla may be the only ones that are not going toward the EREV route. Xiaomi is coming out with the U9. XPeng is coming out with a bigger EREV SUV later this year. But there seems to be this hope, at least for the Onvo L90. I think the reason I'm calling it big is not only it's big for NIO, but it's big in that it's trying to be one of the first to break away from this hold of these plugins and the EREVs SUVs, the Li Auto L series, right? The Itos that have been on the market. That's the interesting kind of the side race that we're seeing.
But let me ask you this: emerging. I'll be seeing you in Beijing in about 12 days, 11 days. But now that you have a chance to relax a little bit, because last time we were in Beijing, Shanghai, we were moving around a lot and not able to relax at all. Outside, what are the brands you're seeing the most outside of BYD in Beijing?
Well, again, it seems I told you about Xi'an, Tesla everywhere. Mm-hmm. Same in Beijing. Li Autos, a lot of Li Autos.
Which would make sense because Li Auto is in Beijing.
Yeah, a lot of Leap Motors. And I'm starting to see more Onvos on the roads.
Onvos, okay.
And here and there, I saw a couple of Fireflies, but still very niche to nearly non-existent, at least in my area. Maybe there are more, but I
really like the Firefly. I would think you would be popular, but maybe not against a Leap motor or a BYD vehicle. So,
it's definitely not as popular as in terms of seeing them on the streets. And then that's still these big name brands that I see the most.
How's the event?
So you're talking about the Onvo? Yeah, I mean it's.
So hold on, let's push rewind.
Yeah.
When was it? Where was it at? Was it a big event, small event?
I can talk about it because most of the pictures, specs have been released. Just not.
So you're technically under embargo?
I'm technically under embargo. So what I can say is L90 is ready for delivery. And I feel like the industry and the media are kind of pulling for NIO because most of the press have been impressed with the positioning. Because if you think about it, this vehicle at under 200,000 RMB is better deal compared to, let's say, an XPeng G9, which is a 5-seater and priced more expensive. And I just think it's NIO is due, like we said last episode, that this I see no reason why it can't do well, and it's got the mover advantage because it's set the price so low. The i8 is at 350 to 400,000. At least that's what they're saying. It's much more expensive. And then the other
a time where the central government is really clamping down and browbeating provincial leadership on allowing price wars and things like that going on. The central government is really, really taking a stand, it seems, to try to stem this price war.
Yeah, so there's been some meetings, there's been some directives that come out the last few days. I think you don't see. We kind of, since I've been here, right, it's been tempered down a little bit. There's still price movement, but.
And remember, we're in the middle of summer, so there's not going to be a lot of aggressive moves, with the exception of the surprising move from BYD in April, slashing prices on 20 of their 20-something products.
Yeah, and then recently Xpeng actually He Xiaopeng, he actually showed that they were actually executing this agreement with suppliers, the 60-day, right?
And
So
the other thing that we should emphasize is that you're starting to see on social less about price, because every post used to be about price cuts or non-price price cuts. Now it's about features. It correlates with a bunch of companies launching new vehicles, but also it's like, hey, lifestyle, these are the features, these are the things that you can do in this car. So maybe that's their way of trying to differentiate themselves in the market a bit.
Yeah, for example, I'm hearing from the media that attended the Onvo event, they were talking about the i8, and they said that there have been some stationary, what do you call it, previews for the media. And I'm hearing that they're saying this I-series vehicles, the fit and finish are some of the softest, even more softer than the L and the Mega in terms of seating
in a good
comfort.
way or in a bad way?
I think in a good way.
Okay.
It's definitely different than the YU7, which I sat in. It's a little bit different. And I mean, the features, the seating arrangements, are exactly the same as the L90, but it's not swappable, right? It's priced higher, so.
But here's the debate, Lei, and let's have this conversation real quick. Let's have this talk real quick, because early on, up until now, everything's about copying. Xpeng did this 3 months ago, so we're going to have this feature, and maybe the seats kind of feel the same. The design, interior design, is different, but not much different. And maybe this is where they're really starting to put effort into brand and differentiation, and so that's kind of the evolution. Let's get out of this price war where the only thing you don't care about my brand, you care about the latest features at the lowest price. And in order to get out of the price war, we have to really lean into how we're better, how we're different from a brand, and represent the brand in a significant way, in a consistent way. So maybe that seat is kind of this indication that these companies are really trying to separate themselves from a positioning standpoint in the market.
And you see that from the social media of these CEOs, right? So Li Xiang was talking about whether they want to do a 3-hour-long launch for the i8. Li Bin did a 3-hour pre-launch for the Onvo L90. Lei Xing
Xiaomi's
talked
are pretty long
for the YU7. And the pricing wise, it's a different strategy, tactics. But I think at least for Onvo L90, they threw down a gauntlet by having the BAS price below 200,000 RMB.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Should I be excited or afraid of AI? The answer is yes. It's both.
Things are going to look so different in the next couple years. You will not be ready for the disruptions that are going to come.
I'm Jeff Nielsen, host of Digital Disruption, the go-to podcast for technology leaders.
Our generation's conflict, I think, is going to be emotional, not economic.
The companies that are going to win are the ones that have a couple of characteristics.
Stay ahead of the curve with Digital Disruption. Available now on your favorite podcast platform.
That is,
yeah.
I saw that and I thought that was a typo. That's amazingly aggressive. Amazingly aggressive.
For a 3-row, I sat in the 3-row. It's actually quite comfy.
So let me ask you this: Tang L or L90?
I mean, you're putting me on the spot because I just came back.
Because the price is chaboduo.
Yeah, so I'd probably go with the L90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is that based on features, looks?
I think
because I know we have limited time with the L90 and the Tang L. So just kind of off the top.
I think it's the ride handling and the comfort and the space of it. For families, I think that currently this family segment is seems to be taking off a little bit, especially the 3-row, fully electric.
Well, Lei, at 200,000 RMB, there's a ton of value there.
What can you get in the US for 200,000 RMB? $30,000. You can't. There's no model even priced below 30,000 RMB.
It's less than that. With the exchange, it's less than that. It's like 27,000, I think. That's unbelievable.
The unbelievable part of it is, I think, mentioning Jensen Huang being here. I think he was talking with...
Is this his third time this year?
I think at least third time. He mentioned something about one company comes out with something, less than 24 hours later, somebody else will have the same thing. That's what he told Ren Hongbin, which is the chairman of the CCPIT. And then, right, you saw all the videos of him praising Chinese electric vehicles.
Where was he at?
He was at this media event somewhere in like a courtyard.
Was it in Summer
Palace?
in
Beijing.
Okay.
I don't know, but somewhere in Beijing. And then
they said he was out there for over an hour answering questions.
Yeah. I mean, he had the black T-shirt, right? He took off the jacket because it was too hot.
I didn't know 他不可以说中文.
He tried to deliver at least part of the opening speech of the supply chain expo in Chinese, and he was like, I'm not going to torture you anymore. I'm going to go back to English.
Oh, so okay. For some reason, I thought he was fluent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he has all the interests in these EVs, right?
He is in full sales mode. He's in full, let's say, advocacy mode because he's battling Washington, D.C., first of all. Second of all, he knows NIO's on his heels, Xpeng's on his heels, Huawei's on his heels because they want to replace the Orin/Thor chip. And it's going to happen. He just wants to slow that down, and I think he's trying to show Nvidia's commitment to the China market. So, but a lot of that stuff is out of a lot of those factors are out of his hands.
I think he's played the part of diplomacy. Maybe we call it the AI diplomacy or chip diplomacy more so than Elon Musk, because we thought Elon Musk would be kind of the guy in the middle, right? Now Jensen has become the guy in the middle. And look at the stock price, right? They just passed the 4 trillion mark. I think they're probably going to get to 5 trillion sometime. I
don't want to say that Elon has given up on the China market, but it seems like he's fully committed to the Western markets, convincing the Western markets that Tesla is now an AI and robotaxi company.
If you look at the top 10, right, we saw the top 10 first half, the leading NEV models. Tesla Model Y was the only foreign brand on that list, top 10. And by this time next year, it might still have a chance to be in the top 10. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but somehow both Tesla and Xiaomi just has that aura, like, because when they announce something, the competitors will take a look at it, and even Li Xiang and Li Bian, right? They retweeted on Weibo. Humble bragging, right? That's a word that I learned from you, saying, this is respectable move by Tesla. I think you would get a good deal with it. But if you want a 5-seater, wait for the i6, right? They're kind of like that, But I think they recognize and
it's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. But
good job, but I'm better.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's like saying good job, but we're better.
Yeah, I mean, we're better, basically, without saying we're better.
And this on the backdrop. So let's see here. Hold on a second. Appreza, and I'd written this in my newsletter as well, that for the first 6 months, NEVs outsold ICE vehicles in China for the first time. So that pendulum has swung. And then you look at the graphite restrictions and the tariffs that are now on Chinese graphite into the United States. So as Elon is struggling to really gain any footing for Tesla in the United States, because now let's list the ways. Charging infrastructure subsidies or investment from the U.S. government will be canceled. September 30th, $7,500 purchase subsidy gone. Now, in Tesla, because they're the only dedicated BEV maker besides a Rivian and a Lucid, who let's not even talk about because their volumes are so low, their graphite costs are going to double because the tariff is 93.7 or 93.5%. So effectively doubling graphite. And the graphite is about 8% of a battery's cost or something like that. I think I was reading that. So Tesla's gonna need a hug in the United States, like big time. And this on the heels of GM and Ford talking about building cells in Tennessee, LFP cells in Tennessee, and then the LMR coming in 27. And everything in the United States is pointing to we don't want clean energy vehicles. At least the government is saying that.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were going to the Ford Bronco EV.
Oh, we'll circle back on that, but I was just talking about US for US.
Yeah.
But I also posted that because Buick. Let's talk about it then. So Buick announced that they were going to launch 6 new vehicles, NEVs, into the China market. They've now shown off 2 of them. One of them was the Electra E5, and they just launched this week
the new sub-brand Electra.
A large sedan, which is about the size of a Model S. And it's an E-Rev.
Yep.
And so Buick doesn't have any E-Revs in the United States, by the way. They don't have any BEVs either. So 4 more coming from Buick this year. And the E7, was it called the E7? It's going to be less than 300,000 RMB. So that'll compete. Which are the large sedans? So it'll compete against the NIOs and things like that.
ET7, yeah. I mean, those sedans.
And then Ford announced that it's launching a BEV version of the Bronco and Bronco Sport. But if you look at the pictures they submitted to MIT, the electric Bronco looks a little bit different than the ICE Bronco. So I don't know if that's on purpose or they had to do it because of the powertrain change. But what do you think?
No, I think it's actually in the sub-segment of this box kind of off-roady, which has also become popular. And so I think it's a tactical move, kind of. The Mustang Mach-E is long forgotten, right? I mean, it was a huge thing back in 2021, but it never got anywhere. So I think they're trying to build on the Bronco IP and the boxy segment, I think, which is a smarter thing to do. But
and we may have talked about this Lei offline, not on the show, but at Shanghai Auto, that was pretty much the only thing that the Chinese consumers wanted to look at, the Bronco, at the Ford booth. They weren't really looking at anything else at the Ford booth except the Bronco.
Yeah, and both, I'm hearing both. We should talk about Momenta again because Momenta got that new deal with
BMW.
BMW, right? Um, these things will probably have some sort of Chinese tech on ADAS. It could be Momenta, it could be somebody else, but
Buick is using Momenta.
right, that we know because GM is an investor, right?
$300 million in 2021.
Yeah, and now both BMW and the upcoming CLA will have Momenta in the Chinese market at least. And Audi is choosing Huawei. So it seems to be a secret sauce for hopefully success, but we'll see.
Here's the key, Lei. You know, I mentioned last week that I hope foreign OEM leadership management were watching the YU7 launch, taking notes. And this is also, to me, a canary in the coal mine that the foreign automakers, not only because they have to, because there's restrictions, but because they can't do it in the time frame necessary to put a competitive product in the China market. So you look at Volkswagen, you look at Stellantis, now, and GM had made the investment a while ago. So that was kind of planned, but now we're starting to see the vehicles that are using Momenta technology. So all of these foreign entities in China are buying. You know, there's the make, there's the buy. So in order to put products in this year and next year, they have to buy that technology and then ram it in, cram it into their products. I feel in the United States that they're going to need to buy as well. The urgency isn't as much, but connected vehicles, because every new vehicle in China has virtually L2+. So these are the things that will bleed over into products in Europe and the United States or North America.
Yeah, and we have the other ones. Right, Tesla announced the Model YL, and then immediately Ito came out with a similar title. See you in the fall. The S9T, the Shangjie, which is the fifth under the HEMA. Right, with SAIC motor. It's like see you in the fall, see you in September. And then at the end of this month, right, the i8 launches, the Onvo L90 launches, delivery start. And then in the fall, right, September-ish, the Model YL. It'll be interesting to see how that does or how that add or support the Model Y volume. Because I think a lot of people don't believe that third row, given the little bit stretch on the end. It's, to me, I've never really liked 3-row SUVs anyways, but the YL, I mean, that L is, right, you put a grain of salt on that L.
So for those wondering, the Model Y, the Model YL, the difference is around 8 inches. And they're going to add a third row to that. Yeah. And it's effectively putting that third row where the trunk is.
Yeah. I think
the current trunk.
Seems to be that space is a big selling point these days, especially on the L90. And it's got class-leading wheelbase among all of these that we mentioned.
So typically in vehicle design, the reason you bring that up, Lei, longer wheelbase means more space, because if you're pushing out to the ends, pushing the tires out to the edges of the vehicle, number one, you have a bit more stability when you're driving and steering, and then it just creates more space inside the vehicle for the passengers, generally speaking. Because 20 years ago, when I sat in the back seat when my dad was driving, the door had the curve, because that's where the rear wheel well was. Now, in the passenger seat, there's no wheel well, and so we have these spaces.
Yeah, nostalgic.
So we talked about the graphite. We talked about the L90 a bit. We've talked about all these crossover SUVs. What else should we talk about?
Robotaxi.
We talked about the Bronco.
On your part of the world. That was interesting because Tesla showed a picture that we don't have to go into detail with, but people who know about it know what I'm talking about. And then Waymo came right back and says, "Take that. I got a bigger area." And then Tesla will probably come back and say,
for those wondering and are on X, Elon had posted a derogatory. It was a picture of Tesla's
service area,
service area for their Robotaxi, and it was in the shape of something. Yeah. And so, the other thing that we should talk about from a Robotaxi standpoint, and I texted our good friend Nick Twerk.
Yeah,
Lucid,
that was kind of
Uber,
surprising.
And Neuro.
Yeah.
So $300 million investment, 20,000?
20,000 over 6 years.
Yeah. So for the Gravity, and they had an actual picture of a Gravity with the LiDAR and the cameras on it. So I think that's big. Uber is really trying to be the picks and shovels guys. They want to work with everybody, and they're moving aggressively globally. And let's emphasize that, because they also have partnerships with WeRide, Pony, Wave, which is a UK robotaxi company. So it's not like they're favoring American companies. So I think that was big. Whether it's more symbolic, we'll have to see whether or not the baby Gravity gets any volume, because I will like Rivian and Lucid's chances a lot better when they're at 20, 30, 40,000 units a month.
Yeah, and then Uber also teamed up with Baidu.
Yes, that's right.
So if we talk about Waymo kind of working with Uber in a way, and then Waymo with Zeekr, Uber with the 3 Chinese robotaxi companies, and then now Lucid. It's a wide variety of players.
More and more people are posting about the Zeekrs that they're seeing as Waymo vehicles in California. So
yeah, I didn't see one in Phoenix when I was there. Maybe they were running around somewhere that secretively, but yeah.
Anyways, maybe this is a short one. Anything else?
The Saturday Future announced the Super One, the FX Super One, and most of the, I don't know if you saw this, most of the comments have been, this is a Wei Lanshan MPV that they brought over and kind of rebadged it or something with the big huge screen in the middle.
And they said they raised $100 million.
Yeah.
So,
gotta respect YT. I mean, he's just.
That's the definition of grinding. That's the definition of grinding.
Just surviving and then just might die another day.
So rather than try to think of things to talk about, let's go to comments. Apreza, as I mentioned, said 60% of vehicles sold in China were NEVs. And what I'd written in the newsletter. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other big number I think is quite huge in my opinion is that 1 out of every vehicle on the road in China is an NEV, based on the Ministry of Public Security number.
1 out of what?
1 out of every 10 automobiles in China now is an NEV. Roughly 37 million out of the 370 million vehicles on the roads. I think that's very significant.
So, Apreza, I'd written in the newsletter that this makes the 60%. I don't actually know if it's 60%. It's close, but for the foreign legacy automakers doing business in China, it really puts them in a precarious position, because how much longer can they straddle and invest in ICE technology and also BEV and EREV and PHEV technology, because they don't have endless amounts of capital. And if they want to truly be a player in the China market, then sooner rather than later, they need to make that full commitment. And so, which for the American companies seems even more challenging now with the lack of any incentive to purchase an NEV in the United States. So, SPX, good morning. He always polite, greeting us. As always, SPX, appreciate you joining. His question or his comment: what's the high-level ADAS system comparison among Momenta, Huawei, Waymo, and God's Eye in their strength and weakness? How would you rank them in current capability and potential to eventual L5 ADAS? I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, Huawei has, and you correct me if I'm wrong, they have not moved into the robotaxi space. They're primarily in the intelligent driving space. And so I think it's important, Momenta is doing a little bit of both, but it looks like they're, in order to commercialize sooner or pull in commercialization, they're doing intelligent driving. But I think they're originally to be a robotaxi company. So I almost feel that we need to separate some of these companies, like the Waymos and the Momentas, because God's Eye is only currently a BYD intelligent driving system. I've gotten a chance to ride God's Eye. I was really impressed. I wasn't expecting much, but this was during Beijing traffic. It was pretty significant, and it wasn't like this area like Yizhuang where it's kind of slow moving, right? It was in Wudakou area. So I was pretty impressed. Have not tried Momenta yet. So I can't tell you that. I've tried a Huawei system a while ago, but so I still think Ponies is pretty good. When I'm back in Beijing, we'll try Baidu again, Lei, and stuff like that. But what do you think?
Oh, if I had to rank, I'd probably put Momenta at the top, purely in terms of Momenta's momentum. I definitely put it at the top because everybody seems to be signing up. I mean, the
BYD,
Toyota,
GM, Toyota, BMW,
Mercedes, right? I mean, there's these major automakers from every part of the world. Japan, Germany, American automakers, Chinese companies, BYD. So and obviously BYD has its own system, right? God's Eye, but it also has the Momentas in some of the other vehicles. So I probably put Momenta purely in terms of smart assisted driving. Outside of the Li Autos, the Xpengs, the NIOs, which have their own systems, right? But if we talk about Waymo, Pony, I mean, that's a different story.
I still think Waymo is probably the best.
Yeah, same here. I mean, based on Phoenix, I think it's a grain of salt because Phoenix is the operational design domain is much. I'd say it's a slightly easier because of the weather. Because during the day there's nobody out on the roads because it's so hot.
But we tried them in LA and San Francisco, so Apreza writes, I hope someone makes a compact MPV, especially for the Southeast Asia market. I think that's a Leap Motor thing.
Leap Motor or BYD, I don't know.
Okay, so Riz, and I'll let you answer this first, Lei, gents. Do we think the L90 sales will eventually surpass the L60? Is the large SUV market that big in China to absorb all these 6-7 seaters?
It has the potential. But I would say my minimum, if L90 does 5,000 a month, I'd probably give it a B. If it does 10,000 a month, I give it an A. That's my minimum. That's my expectation.
How I would look at this, Riz, is that unfortunately, because of the aggressive pricing of the L90, the L60 is likely going to get squeezed because go ahead.
No, I probably would say, yeah, it will, but I think also the ES6 will get squeezed. The line's getting too much blurred.
So you're referring to the NIO ES6?
Yeah, NIO ES6.
Okay, just to clear that up. So, Riz, what's important about the China market and always important to remember is that this year, the China market will be larger than the European and the US markets combined. Okay, so when you ask, is the large SUV market that big in China? I think we need to look at that relatively to the other markets. And it isn't huge for China, but it makes markets in other parts of the world.
The other way to kind of answer this question is a lot is riding on the L90, but it does have the pieces in place for it to become a blockbuster model. Whether it does or not, then we'll see in a few months. It's ready to deliver. I mean, there's tons of vehicles already produced.
It's announced on Sunday, deliver on Monday.
Yeah, and then there's no official numbers, but it seems to be in the 30-some thousand range in terms of orders. We'll see.
The last thing I'll say, Riz, about this is that at least in the United States, where you see Tahoes, you see X7s, you see Expeditions, Navigators, Escalades, quite often it's not as the large stuff is not as prevalent in China as in the United States.
The interesting thing is I always think, I could be wrong, but I always think this i8 and the Onvo L90 are probably in a biggest rivalry in that segment, even though the pricings are completely different. So if the i8 does well than the Onvo L90, then...
Oh, man, forget about it.
I don't know. Like, something's wrong then.
I can't imagine that being the case.
I can't imagine
because
that.
of the pricing discrepancy between the two.
Yeah. Which is interesting to watch.
What we will perceive, because we don't know what the i8's pricing yet is.
Because Mega recent weeks and months, the sales are actually ticking up. And when they started selling Mega, it kind of flopped, right? And now actually sales are picking up. And the Onvo L60 is actually, doing slightly better than before.
I think we were being tough on the Mega because it's an 800,000 RMB MPV, large SUV. So the numbers were not
I think they're selling
but respectable.
Over 3,000 a month now.
Yeah.
Which is significant.
I really like the Mega. So
yeah. And then the fact that the I series, the i8 and the i6 carries that over.
I like the earlier designs of the Li Auto vehicles more than the current designs of some of the vehicles. So
yeah.
S5 says the L90 starting price is crazy. There is no way Onvo can make money by selling 6-seater pure EV SUV under 300,000. It is impossible. So,
NIO is trying to make money by the end of the year, so let's have that in mind.
Accounting wise,
is it going to depend on the L90? Some of it, but I think we also have to see what the NIO brand does. What's in front of us is the expectations that Li Bin said himself: 20,000 units of NIO and 20,000 units of Onvo.
So, one last thing I'll say about the i8: there is immediate pressure to do a price cut before announcing the price. So my guess is it'll be 250-ish, and in order to at least be in the same ballpark, because if it's at 300, then
Well,
I
the L6 starts at, I think, 250. I can't imagine the i8 go down that much, right?
So, and Li Auto is going to be a bit hamstrung because of all the emphasis on trying to get out of the price war from the central government. So Mike writes, I hope Ford gets inspired by the Bronco new energy and brings it here in 2028. Well, Mike, that assumes that the tariffs go away or there are some exceptions made.
As first get that LFP plan going.
Yeah. So, oh man, I forgot to do this. So I was in St. Joseph's, Michigan, which is on Lake Michigan, basically other side of Chicago. Okay, on the west side at a lacrosse tournament, and I was on I-94 driving west, and there's a detour. And guess where it took me? It took me right past Marshall, Michigan, and I drove right by the Ford factory.
Oh, how was it looking? Is it nearly done, or is it half baked?
I didn't see that many Chinese people. I'll be honest, I didn't see that many Chinese people. But anyways, it's off. So it was just some random coincidence because I'm driving. I don't even know I'm in Marshall, Michigan, and my GPS says there's an accident ahead. Take this detour; it'll save you 6 minutes. And so I took it, and then I see this sign, and I see this factory.
Did you actually go into the town of Marshall, or
yeah? So I drove in. It was like one of those business things. So yeah, it was a weird. Because there's a lot of construction.
Complex.
Michigan always has construction. Yeah. But anyways, so I drove by the Marshall, Michigan factory, which rolls cells, which is supposed to be rolling cells with CATL technology. So anyways, Riz, they're running around in Ningbo making their way to Phoenix. So he's talking about the Zeekrs, having driven the L60.
Well, the Zeekrs, so the Zeekrs will have those Waymo drivers fitted in that plant in Mesa, right?
In
Arizona?
Outside of Phoenix or something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, they currently ship them bare bones, and then Alphabet or Waymo fits them with all the sensors and stuff.
Yeah, in that plant with the Magna in Mesa.
So, Riz, having driven the L60 in Jiading, Shanghai back in April, they're such a quality product, so can only imagine the L90 would be top-notch. Getting closer to NIO brand, as you say, gents. Thanks. So, right on.
It's very blurred. It's yeah. For that money, what you get is extremely undeserving to do that. I mean, it's crazy to think about it.
So, in the grand scheme of things, whoever had written about they can't make money on 200,000, who wrote SJ? You're absolutely right, SJ. But what they're hoping for is for the weaker players to exit the market. They can stabilize pricing. The idea would be less players so they could push up pricing a little bit. Now, there's never going to be this less non-competitive environment. They're hoping a less competitive environment, not a non-competitive environment. But right now, to your point, 200,000 for a 7-seater 3-row large SUV is just bonkers. And it's not sustainable. So what they're trying to do is make the market healthy so that, and also remember that if your utilization rate is over 80% at the factory, then you can eke out some margin. But
yeah.
Anyways, that's all I have, and I think that's all you have, Lei. Unless you want to add anything.
No, I tried to catch a glimpse of Jensen Huang, but I did not succeed. But I did walk around the supply chain expo, and guess who was exhibiting?
Who's this?
Tesla.
Nice.
And all they were doing is doing live streaming at the stand with the Model Y and the Model 3. Every time I open my WeChat, Tesla is doing live streaming. I don't think any other brand does that. They're constantly live streaming the current incentives, answering questions.
They're flooding the zone.
Yeah. So
that's probably one of the only ways they can stay in the consciousness of the Chinese consumer.
Yeah, but I'm hearing this, like I tweeted, that this supply chain expo is basically the northern CIIE.
Right.
I talked to some of the people at the stand. They say, "Oh, it's GR government, pushed that they had to be there." Kind of.
GR is government relations.
Yeah. So that's why you don't see Tesla exhibiting at auto shows in China, at least not in Beijing or Shanghai anymore. But they do appear at these type of shows for some reason.
To support the government.
Yeah, and that's.
All right, everyone. Thanks as always for joining us. We will talk with you all. Hopefully, it looks like I should be able to do it next Friday again.
Same time,
so
no problem for me.
Talk with you all next week. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Everyone have a good weekend.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
That brings us to the end of this week's show. Lei and I thank you for tuning in. My name is Tu Lee, and you can find me on Twitter at Sino Auto Insight. That's SinoAutoInsight. You can find Lei on Twitter at Lei Xing77. That's LEIXING77. If you wouldn't mind rating and or reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you grab your podcast from, we'd appreciate that as well. Even better, if you enjoy this show, please tell your friends about it. Please join us again next week as we track down all the latest news on China, EVs, and more.